Hi kids, let's start with our mantra. I make messes, I make mistakes, but deep inside, I got what it takes. I am an artist. All right, so today we're gonna talk about value. Value is an element of art, and in my opinion, it's one of the most important elements of art because it gives your work variety and interest. So let's look here at these two examples of paintings. Value is when a color goes from light to dark or dark to light on the color spectrum. And we get values by adding or taking away white, or adding or taking away black. You can also add more of your darker primary to create darker values. And I'm gonna show you guys that with paint. So this lesson does not have a project attached to it. And I'll explain what your prompt or your project will be at the end of the information. So I'm going to show you with watercolor how to create different values. If you don't have watercolor at home, you can use anything to create different values: colored pencils, crayons, markers with hatch marks. So I'm going to go through this pretty quick because I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm going to show you with lots of different mediums how to create value, and then I'll splice a little YouTube video on at the end of this of someone else doing something similar. All right, we will learn about value. Okay guys, so as I said, value is when a color goes from light to dark or dark to light. I have this example with blue here, so I'm just going to use blue. With watercolor to create value, all you need to do is add more water. So I'm going to do a gradient change with blue. So I've got my darkest blue. To make that lighter, all I have to do is dip my brush in water and keep going. Dip my brush in water and keep going. Dip my brush in water and keep going. So I'm just thinning the color out. I'm going to show you that again really quickly with purple, and then we're going to move on to another medium. My darkest color first, that's just the paint. We always have to get our watercolor wet, but then to create the value change, dip your brush and water only. Dip your brush, water only. Dip your brush, water only. And some cool stuff can happen when you have this really wet watercolor next to each other. If you just put another color up to it, that's called wet on wet. And wet on wet does some really cool stuff. It kind of makes the colors dance around a little bit. So when we're working with watercolor, as long as we keep a lot of water on our brush, we can create some really cool value changes and color mixes. So that is watercolor. That was value changes in watercolor, part 1. We'll move on to a different medium now. So these are tempera cakes. They work the same way as these kind of paints do. They're just not as messy. And I'm going to use this white cake to show you how to create different values of red. So my first is going to be my darkest value. Very, very red. And then since these are temperas, I can take red and add it onto white. And everybody knows what that's going to make, pink. Okay. So now I have the next value. The more I rinse and the more water I get on there, the lighter my value is going to get. It's similar to the way we create value with watercolor, but with this you just have that thicker, like pastier kind of paint. Okay, so those are 2 ways of painting value with, by just adding water, really. If you're using this tempera paint, on Padlet there's a really cool example that I think Rory did of some clouds that are a really nice example of a value. So now we're going to move on to creating value with dry mediums, colored pencils, crayons, and oil pastels. So stay tuned for that. Hey guys, so I am over here at the drawing studio, and I'm going to show you how to create value by using dry mediums. Dry mediums meaning they're dry and we don't add water to them. So we do that stuff over here at Drawing Studio. I've got markers, pastels, crayons, and colored pencils. And I'm gonna show you some techniques for creating value. And here we go. Okay, kiddos, so there's two techniques to creating value. One of them uses pressure, which means how hard you push down on something. And the other way to create value with dry materials is by mark making and the types of marks that you make. So let's start with crayons and pressure. So we've done this before. We did this with the 3-color rainbow, and we did this with the pumpkins too. Like I said, a value is such an important element of art. So there's a darker value. I'm pushing down really hard. Now I'm gonna push down less hard, and my value is gonna change lighter. And then it's gonna get even lighter. And I can go in and adjust by adding more. We did this with our 3-color rainbows. Okay, so that's with pressure. With mark making, it's really just how close together your marks are. So that's a dark value. I'm gonna make a lighter value. I'm still pressing down just as hard, but my marks are further apart. Stomach's growling. So we get darker values by keeping our lines closer together, and lighter values by keeping them further apart. So I'm gonna do pressure and mark making with all of these medias, but I'm gonna speed up the video because I know you guys have a lot to do for your other classes. So here we go. Okay, kids, so there you have it, how to create value using lots of different materials. I wanted to point out with the markers that pressing down harder on the markers isn't gonna make their value any darker. Spreading out your mark making here is what's gonna make it darker. So really value with markers is all mark making. So your assignment for the week is to create a work of art that shows value. You can use whatever you have at your house to do that. I'm not going to tell you to draw something specific. If you want to, you can check out the guided drawing module and show value in that. And then just make sure that you're thinking about how important value is to works of art, and try to notice it in everyday life. Oh, that red is darker than that red. Cool. That yellow is a stronger value than that lighter yellow. Like that dandelion might be darker than, I don't know, that lemon drop, whatever. So think about that, and if you can, post your artwork on Padlet. If you can't post your artwork on Padlet, that's totally cool, but all of you need to make sure that you go into the quizzes module and just answer that one question yes, that you did something creative this week. And I will see you next time, and we will talk about form. All right, guys, have fun. I can't wait to see what you create. Hey guys, so I want to show you some examples again of value. I'm standing in front of this yellow painting, and you guys can see different shades of gray value in my face and my hair and my shirt. And we can see different values of yellow here in the background, lights and darks. So I just thought that was a cool example for you guys to see. Just stick myself in a painting and show you value.